streaming. I believe I'm streaming now. Hopefully we see some folks pop into the chat soon. Nice to be back. Hopefully this is a decent hour today. And I'm about to ink something for Inktober 2018. Today's prompt was chicken, and yesterday I had some fantastic suggestions from a lot of you in the chat room. I loved it. Kept talking them over, and then all of a sudden my fiance reminded me of one of my favorite moments in a show I really like, Arrested Development, when Gob Bluth decides that he can do an impression of a chicken, and he just goes, caw, 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 which isn't really exactly what a chicken does, but I love it. So that's what I'm going to do, and I just sort of looking at my sketch here. I don't really like how I did the hand there, so I'm going to touch that up real fast. Just realized that. Bear with me. That's interesting. Okay, am I actually streaming? Oh, I guess so. Hello, pathetic spider boy. You are the first comment in chat. I always forget that it takes a minute between when I start streaming, when people actually see it, and yeah, there's a delay factored in there. Hey, Nathaniel. Thank you very much. Yeah, a lot of credit should go to Chrissy. She's the one that, like, suggested this to me as something I would enjoy, and I completely agree. So yeah, just touch that up a little. I guess I don't really need to use the eraser yet, but I'll fix it when I get to the inking stage. Diego, hello. Let's see. Julian, hello. Have I played the Ultimate Spider-Man game from 2005? No, didn't play that one, I'm afraid. Sorry. And Michael says, I'm doing my own chicken Inktober drawing now, too. Good. And hello, Unplugged Idiot. So I'm trying when I can to read all of your chats. I know I missed a lot over the last few days. You know, I get engrossed in what I'm working on, and I miss stuff. So hopefully today I can do a better job at that. I'm trying to move my whole arm as we illustrate here, and we'll see how it goes. So I know this isn't a superhero or anything, but sometimes drawing real people is just as fun and certainly valuable, because you need to know how to draw clothes and expressions and stuff like that. Oh, thank you so much for the compliment, Unplugged. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching. I'm always grateful to hear someone enjoys the show. I had a fun afternoon today. Today is one of my rare days off, and I also lucked out because it is the annual Greek festival just down the street at some big Greek Orthodox church, and I loved some Greek food. It was a blast to go in there, and got some souvlakia, some Greek fries. Chrissy got a gyro. What else did we get? Got a Greek beer. What pen do you use? It does sort of change a lot, Spider Boy. It depends. If I need to do really fine facial details, I may use something like this, like a Pigma Micron, depending on how small the details are. And in this case, I would consider those relatively small. I'm just using a brush pen for like some of the big bold outlines, as well as like filling in some of the black areas. This one was one I just got recently, and I do like it. It's a Pentel. It's called the Dual Point Flex Double-Ended Brush. So this is really good for big, bold outside lines. And then what I personally enjoy inking, like in general, with is this. It's called a Pigma Fine Brush by Sakura. I don't know. Oh, I guess it focuses down here. Hello, Tank Ferret. Hello, Sunderboard and Philip Flores. Hello, Shirley. A lot of people jumped in. Thank you. And yeah, you can all still see that, right? Like, hello, Charles. I'm streaming the chat that I see, so sometimes somebody like has a swear word and YouTube automatically filters it, as well as like websites and stuff. But since I'm streaming my logged in view, I think that everybody watching this can still see that. I'm pretty sure. Jolly Timer joins us, says, just found your channel. I've been binging it all day. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You can all see it. Oh, okay, cool. Who are you drawing? This is Gob Bluth from Arrested Development. He's well known for doing a terrible chicken impression, chicken dance. So that's who I was inspired to illustrate for today. The prompt was chicken, and it just felt like something I would enjoy illustrating, so that's what I'm working on. Forget. I think that like somebody once told me that you're always supposed to pull the brush towards you instead of pushing it away. I don't know if I have that right. That you have more control basically doing it one way as compared to the other. But I'm terrible at following even my own advice, so I still tend to often push. Yeah. All right, let's see. Slight delay. Happy Friday, I think, from TARDIS Rider. There's always money in the banana stand. Exactly right. Exactly right. So you know what? I'm going to actually switch over to my little Pigma Micron here. And what are people saying? Have you read Garth Ennis's The Boys? What do you think of the Amazon show? Has the Amazon show already debuted? If so, I haven't seen that. I did read a bunch of The Boys. It's fine, but I got a little burned out just because I felt like it was very similar to a lot of the ideas that were explored in the Rick Veitch comic from the 80s, Brat Pack. So I just sort of felt like I'd already sort of encountered those ideas. But I'll definitely do a video on it at some point. Because I feel like I need to talk some more about Ennis anyway. I didn't do my favorite work on my first episode of covering Ennis. So, yeah. Have I read Border Town 2 yet? Asks TARDIS Rider. I have not, but I did pick it up. Right after I went to the Greek festival today, I said, hey, I'm out and about. Today's my day off. I'm going to do stuff that I want to do. And so I hit my comic book store. I like to go to this place called Stargazer Comics in Tacoma. I think it's a really nice store. Didn't get a lot. Don't have a lot of sort of extra spending money. But I did pick up Border Town 2 because I really liked what they did with issue 1, and I'm curious. All right, some questions. Have I seen Venom? No, I have not seen Venom. Sorry. For a steadier line, push. For a more varied line, pull. Oh, never heard that before. It's interesting. Thanks. Never hurts to hear different tips and opinions. Then you take what works and you abandon what doesn't, and that's that. What other questions? Did you hear about Will Vinton passing? No. No, that's interesting. Hold on 2 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry. I did hear about this. Yeah, the claymation guy. I forgot his name. I'm bad at names, folks. Yeah, I did hear about that. That is too bad. That's sad. Remember that time Spider-Man gave birth to himself? Actually, I think that might have happened twice. I know it happened in the other, but I feel like there was another time. Anyway. I haven't read the new Doom Patrol comics, Michael. Yeah, I'm curious, but I don't have any thoughts because I have not read it yet. Do you know who's an incredible artist? Masakuzu Katsura. I was just reading Video Girl AI and... Oh my god. Okay. Haven't read that one either. Yeah, it sort of happened in a hallucination. Exactly right, Diego. It happened in a hallucination in Kraven's Last Hunt. And then it happened in the other. I feel like there might have been one other time where he was sort of reborn. It's just not coming to me right now. Did I make a video about Punisher Max? Nope. Nope, haven't done that. Another early stream. I guess so, Sigamegs. You know, I don't have a set time this year. Like, every day this month is probably going to be a completely different time. I wish I could do it consistently so that I could engage people. But I'm working with, you know, an interesting work schedule. So this was what fit today. Tomorrow, probably I won't be able to even start until about like 10 p.m. Pacific, so it'll be pretty late. Hello to Atomicus and B. Dan Riley. Have I read the new Amazing Spider-Man comics by Nick Spencer? Only the first issue. Looks cool. Ryan Otley. Am I streaming all Inktober? Yeah, that's my goal, J9. That's my goal, is to just stream every day of October for Inktober, and we'll see how it goes. I just can't do it at a consistent time each day, unfortunately. So it's catch as catch can. I figure, you know what? Primarily doing this to improve, and people can always watch the archived stream. So yeah, the only thing I don't benefit from there is you know, every once in a while I'm lucky enough to get a super chat when I live stream, and so it's in my best interests to do it at a sort of middle afternoon or early evening kind of a time, but it's not always doable. Not this year anyway. By the way, this is probably a long shot, but did anyone out there order something for Comic Tropes for me through eBay? Because yesterday, at the address that's collecting my submissions of weird comics for that contest that's going on, I got a package from eBay. It was clearly addressed to Comic Tropes, but it wasn't a comic. It was a bunch of clear plastic boxes, looks like the kind that you'd put an action figure or something in, and I don't understand why someone sent that to me. It might be a mistake. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on there. So, if by any extreme chance one of you did that, let me know. Yeah, Shirley, this is going to be Jason Bateman. Haven't inked him yet, so, we'll just sort of cover him up, and he'll be a big surprise later, right? We'll just sort of, who could that be? Yeah. If you haven't, you should read Craven's First Hunt. It's not great, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, I don't know if I've read Craven's First Hunt. Don't know who did it. Cool. A coo. A coo. Sorry, I just got quiet. If you've watched any of these streams before, you'll notice there are moments when I start focusing on detail that all of a sudden I go silent, and then all of a sudden I realize that I've gone silent and that I've got an audience. Anyway, sorry. Let's see. How was the Greek event, Chris? That happened today, right? Yeah, I posted some pictures to my social media, so some folks know. Got to go to a Greek festival, a local one, and it was a blast. That was a really fun way to spend lunchtime, just having some good, authentic Greek food, listening to Greek music, and yeah, just always fun. And usually I don't get to go to that because it usually happens during the same weekend as New York Comic Con, and this is the first year I haven't gone to New York Comic Con. So sometimes this Greek festival is off by like 1 week and I get to go, but not every year. So, I didn't get to go to New York Comic Con, and that's too bad. But you know what? I did get to go to the Greek festival, so it all works out. This is where I'm just sort of trying to work on feathering consistently for my shading and for my folds in cloth. And I'm not quite there yet. Getting there. I'm getting used to certain techniques. Still could use some practice, obviously. But I do love drawing. So even when the result isn't great, I'm still happy just to be drawing. And let's see, I'll take a look at the chat in just a second to see what kind of questions there are. Maybe there's a prompt that'll get me telling a story. I love it when I can talk for an extended period, sort of relaying a story. can be hard to sort of think ahead and think of like what to talk about. Oh, cool! Wow, thank you, Richard. That's very generous of you. I appreciate the super chat. It really does help. Have I done an episode on John Ostrander? In a roundabout way. I didn't talk in depth about him, but I did cover Suicide Squad. Um, I actually covered one of the lesser issues of Suicide Squad, and so yeah, he wrote that. So I talk about it a little bit, but he deserves an episode dedicated just to him, and hopefully I can do that sometime soon. Great question. Art is a uniquely human pursuit, says Ashcraft. Yeah, it probably is, except that I think that there are still some animals that find beauty in certain things. Like raccoons are fascinated by like shiny, sparkly things, and you could argue that that's sometimes what we get out of art. I mean, art is, I feel, anything that's designed with the intent of provoking like an emotional response. It can be a pretty broad definition there. But I don't know if animals exactly consider that element of it like an emotional response, but they do. They are drawn to certain things and like to arrange certain things in ways that are pleasing to them. So you could argue that certain animals do have, in a sense, an appreciation for art, but it's like tied in with like survival instincts. I wonder if humans' appreciation from art in any way evolved from a survival instinct at its core. I don't think so. I'd have to think about that, or talk to like a sociologist or something like that, or a anthropologist. What's your favorite comic arc? Let me think about that. Not sure off the top of my head, Pathetic Spider Boy. TARDIS Rider says, Chris, was the package sent from China? I've read a few things about people getting random cheap items from China. It's some postage scam. No, it was definitely not from China. It was from an eBayer in America, but I'm pretty sure that the person that sent it from eBay was not a viewer, because there was no letter inside or anything like that. So I think what happened was one of my viewers intended to buy a strange comic online, but somehow they either accidentally ordered the wrong thing or the eBay seller shipped the wrong thing. I don't know which. All I can tell you is I've got just a small handful of clear plastic boxes. I have no idea what exactly they're for. B. Dan Riley says there's a cute little beetle that makes art. Ants get spun out by art. If you draw a line in front of it, they think it's a wall or something. Pathetic Spider Boy wants me to do an episode on Mark Bagley. I probably will. There's a lot to say about him. So, yeah. Sigamig says, anything out of NYCC that interests you? Well, let's wait till tomorrow. Saturday's definitely like the big reveal day. I don't think I've heard of anything from like the Thursday or Friday yet, but I also haven't like really looked today too closely at the news. So it's entirely possible that something came about like out of comic book news that I just didn't catch yet. But what about all of you? Have you heard of anything that came out of New York Comic Con, or at least maybe one of your favorite writers or artists? Have they like posted something that they've done or seen, or even friends, I suppose? There's always amazing cosplay. There's always amazing commissions drawn by a bunch of the artists that decide to table there. So I have seen some of the artwork in like my social media posts by like various artists that I follow. Haven't seen much of anything else yet. but I bet tomorrow we'll hear some big reveals of at least things like where Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, IDW, Valiant, like sort of what their big plans for the year ahead are. I would assume. Can you do one on Ryan Otley? Possibly. Possibly. I have to think about that. Like, I don't know off the top of my head what I'd say about him, but possibly. That this is one of those moments where I'm just sort of doing details and I can't. It's like I am incapable of doing two things at once. I'll be with you guys in a moment. Let's see. All right. Few people joined. Have I read Electra Assassin by Bill Sienkiewicz? Yeah. I love the artwork. Very cool stuff. Who cares about the new Doctor Who? Does anyone even watch it anymore? Yeah, I do, big man. I'm excited for the new Doctor. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Yeah, I'm actually really excited for the return of Doctor Who. And Jodie Whittaker was very talented, very engaging on what was the show that I watched her on? Broadchurch. That's about the only thing I know her from before, but in a way I feel like that's a big plus because I love being able to sort of imagine the actors as just the Doctor. For most of them, that's the case. The only one that comes to mind that I think of as something else is sometimes Peter Capaldi, because he had plenty of great roles before Doctor Who. Hi, Tracy. Thanks for joining. Wow. I know Tracy in real life. That's cool. Nice that a couple people that I know in real life are here. Thank you. People complaining about the Doctor being a woman, to be honest, it would only be a problem if the Doctor became American. Well, that's probably true. That probably should not happen. The Doctor's very, it's a British show. Of course the Doctor should be, British or at least sort of Scottish or from the United Kingdom, so I agree with you there. Like, that said, like, America took its crack at making Doctor Who once with the Eighth Doctor, and the results were mixed. I don't think it was terrible, but it definitely wasn't very good. They tried to make it a little more actiony and stuff, but like still like utilized tons of mythology that maybe like their new audience wasn't going to be familiar with. So, and they timed it out poorly, like putting it up against, I want to say, the season finale of Roseanne, something along those lines, something that was huge at the time. So, yeah, the American attempt at Doctor Who was troubled, but they had a great theme song to it. That sort of carried over into the reboot in 2005, that sort of take on the music, and it had a budget. It was nice to see Sylvester McCoy again. It was an interesting take on the Master, not my favorite, but it was interesting. Anyway, all right, there's a little hair for Job. Do I like British comedies? Absolutely. I'm not going to say I like every British comedy, but I like a lot of British comedy. I mean, growing up, like, I loved Faulty Towers and Monty Python were two shows that were on PBS, and I loved them. Um, and then, like, when I was older, I found stuff like The Young Ones and The Office and Spaced and all sorts of great shows where the actors and writing were just top notch. All sorts of great stuff. Yeah, absolutely. What's not to like about British television? Some great stuff there. I love their dramas too. In the past few years, I really enjoyed Luther, and I love Downton Abbey. I know it was just a soap opera, but I really enjoyed that one, and I kind of miss it. Let's see. Rosaku says, "Hello, I'm just dropping by. I just need to give myself a 30-minute nap before doing Inktober. I'll be back soon." All right, man. Or woman. I guess I don't know. Shouldn't make an assumption. Good luck. Let's see. Have I ever heard of the British comedian Frankie Boyle? I don't think so. Doesn't ring a bell off the top of my head. Kent Williams? I don't know if I know Kent Williams. Let me think for a second. Let me look it up real quick. Do I know Kent Williams? Oh, wow. Painter as well as a graphic novel artist. I like some of these paintings that I'm seeing. That's pretty cool. Wow. I like that. What's he done for comics? Let's just taking a quick look here. And I'll try to just keep busy by filling in some black areas while I'm reading up on this real quick. Oh, Hellblazer, that makes sense. A regular contributor to Epic Illustrated. Oh, yeah. Look at that. He did Wolverine Meltdown along with John J. Muth. I remember Wolverine and Havoc Meltdown. I read that back in the day. I thought that was really cool. It was, to me, it was like very like sort of new and different seeing something in that kind of a format, because it was like a graphic novel, but it like made it to the newsstand. So I was like, what is this? And it was all sort of painted and different. Hellblazer, cover artist. Yeah, I've seen that work. And he did the graphic novel adaptation of The Fountain. That I didn't see, but I'm aware of. Well, the paintings that I just saw in like Google image search looked really cool. Kent Williams. Wasn't really familiar with that name before, but I guess I have seen his work. Hello, American Swordfish. All right, bye, Shirley. Sunderboard says, reading while inking. You absolute mad lad. If you ever get to Las Vegas, you should look me up. I'd love to buy you a supper and talk comics. Yeah, well, I'll let you know if I ever make it back out to Vegas. I would like to see the Grand Canyon and the Hoover Dam, so I could sort of imagine myself starting that journey in Vegas. We'll see. I don't know. Don't really gamble anymore. I mean, I never really ever gambled regularly, but I used to play it when it was available, like low stakes blackjack. I enjoy that a little bit, but it's been many years since I've done that, so I don't know if I would still have any fun going to casino and doing that. Kind of forget the sort of rules of thumb that you're supposed to have. It's been too long. I remember one time in college, I went to college in New Orleans, and when I started there as a freshman, they used to have a riverboat casino, They might have had two, but anyway, they had a riverboat casino, and they had that up through the beginning of my senior year, and then it closed. And I think it closed because Harrah's Casino, a big, huge, like casino conglomerate company, had bought some land nearby, and they were about to build a huge casino, which they have by now. But either way, I went to the Riverboat Casino a couple times, and I remember the very first time I did, had some fun, got some free drinks, played like some low stakes stuff, and just sort of people watched and just treated it like an interesting bar, and that was fine. It was fun. Then at the end of the night, my friend and roommate Evan decided to just put like $50 on the roulette wheel on black, where you have close to 50-50 odds. You've got like a 48% chance of winning, which is pretty good. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. And I did it too. But what I wasn't thinking was, well, I should have bet on the other one so that at least one of us was going to definitely win that night. Instead, I guess I was just like, yeah, I'll do that too. And I put my money down on black, and we both lost. And I thought back, and I was like, I should have bet on the other one. Then, yeah, one of us still would have lost, but one of us would have won. Wasn't thinking. Well, probably would have won. Again, 48%. So who knows? Are there any big name inkers that have like a YouTube channel or something, and they just talk about their specific type of inking techniques? I'd love to start talking about some inkers at some point, some popular inkers. Are you going to check out the Swamp Thing Giant at Walmart? It's out on Monday. Yeah, I might get that. I like Swamp Thing. All right, let's see. Okay, there's a conversation going on that I'm not following. What's Jacob Roller say? Have you seen the Venom movie? If so, what did you think? Haven't seen it yet. I've got several friends who've seen it. One of them did not like it at all. One of them said he was surprised by how much he liked it. You know, obviously more people dislike it than like it. At the same time, some people are enjoying it for what it is. So I don't know. I'm a little curious. I don't have high hopes, but maybe going in with lower expectations will help me enjoy whatever there is. Scott Williams has a channel. Really? Scott Williams, yeah, he'd be a good potential topic too. Like, Scott Williams is definitely a premier inker. Really good with the detail. There's a YouTuber that inked David Finch previously. Okay, curious about that. Check out Jason Brubaker. Is that an inker? I know Doug Tenaple. I should probably do an episode about him at some point. Definitely have some stuff to say about that guy. That sounded like intimidating, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, I already know a bunch, so I sort of know what that episode could be, is what I'm saying. Wish I could do more than one episode a week. I can barely do one episode a week as it is right now. Just so you know, like, the episode that you'll see on Sunday, I've written it. I have not recorded it. That means I haven't even begun editing it yet. But it will be ready on Sunday. I'm just going to have to sacrifice sleep to get there. That's just how it is sometimes, some weeks. But the way I figure it's, once it's out there, it's kind of out there forever. You've, like, put some sort of a creation into the world, so kind of makes up for the fact that you're tired. Kind of. Pain is temporary, art is forever. Not really art though, it's criticism. Think of your health. Well, I do, Sigamigs, but I also want to like finish the episode. I want it out there on time. It's important to me. What do you think of them making an Eternals film? That's an interesting question, Jojo. It's got some potential, and that would honestly be one that I don't mind if they play very fast and loose with the mythology. The Eternals was never my favorite creation by Jack Kirby. I'm not saying it's bad, it was just never my favorite. You know, he did some interesting things with Thor, and then he started sort of evolving those concepts when he did New Gods. Or almost like was like, well, what if Ragnarok came around, and then you had these New Gods? And then he wasn't really able to wrap up New Gods. DC didn't really, they were like, no, we don't want it to end. We don't want it to end definitively like you've got planned. So that's not going to happen. And so he sort of went back to Marvel, and the Eternals was a little bit of his idea of sort of that third stage for the gods is what would happen next there. So you have to take it very loosely, obviously, because it's three completely different set of characters, but it does form a type of story when you read his Thor run, his New Gods contributions, and his Fourth World stuff, and then the Eternals. It forms a type of story in a way. The Eternals, it's tricky because they are sort of gods essentially that live among us. So that is tricky. I'd rather see a Kamandi movie, says Voodoo Zombie. Yeah, Kamandi would be great. 24-hour comics day tomorrow. Have you ever taken part? Yeah, I've done it, I think I've definitely done it twice, and I'm trying to remember if I've actually done it 3 times. It's been a while since I've done it, and I really can't now because I don't have like a regular work schedule. I have to work on the weekends, unfortunately, so can't do it this year anyway. But yeah, I have done it, and it's very rewarding. It's such a great challenge to force yourself to not pre-plan. That's a very important aspect of it. And then just keep going and keep going. And it really will teach you stuff about pacing and about like how you attempt a page. You'll learn a lot about yourself if you just keep drawing for like that long. You'll learn a lot about your own instincts and where you need to embrace them, where you need to refine them, and where you need to just say, whoops, nope, that's not the way to go. Yeah, I think it's very important if you ever want to make a comic book. And I don't care whether you want to be a colorist, a letterer, a writer, an inker, an illustrator, like an editor. I think it's very important to actually attempt to do all of the roles at one point. And I'm not necessarily talking that you're going to make like an amazing masterpiece, but I think it's important, not even like all at once. I'm just saying that you have, it really will help you understand how a comic book can come together and what the importance of every role is if you give it a shot at like doing everything. Because it's not until you've lettered that you understand where to leave the space for those letters. And it's not until you've illustrated something until you will really understand, like, you know, the value of a script, including reference or being realistic with how big it goes. You can do almost anything with comics, so it's important to understand what the limitations of your potential collaborators would be. At least that's my opinion. So I've done every role in comics like several times. Like, and admittedly, it's pretty much all self-published stuff, but I've taken a crack at doing absolutely everything in comics. My favorite stuff is writing, then illustrating, then lettering, then coloring. Inking and editing are towards the bottom. But I kind of love it all, so that's not a big deal. right, so let's see. The pose you're drawing is so cute. I love drawing with other people where we don't sleep. I miss that. Ah, J. Andrew World, welcome. Yeah, it's so fantastic to be able to draw with other people to sort of talk to and pass the time. You'll get punchy when you do something like 24-hour comic book day, but it's invaluable to like have somebody to bounce an idea off against very quickly, or just to see somebody else working and go like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, what one man can do, another can do. What movie was that? Something with Anthony Hopkins. What one man can do, another man can do. I think it was written by David Mamet. It doesn't come to me right now what that was. It wasn't that it was a great movie. It was an interesting line. You know what movie I need to rewatch that I haven't seen in a long time is Glengarry Glen Ross. It's all about selling, and these days I sell cars, so that would be interesting to rewatch with that perspective. Oh, look at this. Danavision says, Chris lettered the Luxor comic that I wrote. That's true, I did. I'm very excited to see where that ends up. I thought it was a great comic. That's why I decided to do it. It was a really good challenge. Some really funny and exciting moments in that book. Some beautiful artwork. You found some great artists to work with. So, yeah, that's exciting. Who are your inspirations for drawing? Mike Mignola's one. A lot of times it'll be like my friends and contemporaries, like my fiance inspires me, Tony Moore inspires me, Corey Walker, Nate Bellegarde, Matt Roberts, and then Will Eisner, Alex Toth, or Toth, I'm not sure how you pronounce it now that I think of it. Yeah. Yeah. The guy in the $6,300 suit is going to hold the elevator door for you. Come on! Alright, that's a quote from, it's probably a misstated quote, but a quote from Arrested Development that popped in my head when I was looking at this drawing I've created of Job. So that's pretty much what I want to do with Job. Oh no, it's not quite all of it. Let's see here. A couple things I need to do. Cadillac Man is a great movie. You know, I haven't seen that. I think that's Tim Robbins and Robin Williams, right? Right? I don't know. I think so. Just wanted a little bit more white there. All right, let me just switch over to one of my technical pens and see if I can sort of get the Jason Bateman face to look right. Let's see, J. Andrew World says, back in college, I would kick out my roommate and I declared my room a homework zone. All my friends would come and draw and paint. People brought snacks and we ordered in. It was magical. That does sound nice. That sounds really nice. Are you going to see Spider-Verse? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hello, Emmy. Thank you for joining us. Absolutely. I think that that looks like a great movie. And I really enjoyed the Edge of Spider-Verse comics. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that, actually. So this one probably is going to be on the shorter side for how long I draw compared to some of the other days. Just sort of, I don't think I'm going to flesh out all of Jason Bateman here. I just wanted his expression, basically, like to represent a reaction to Job's chicken dance here. That's my current plan. So, what time is it? I've been doing this for almost an hour, so that's perfect. I'll definitely go, like, another 10 minutes or so. Just thinking things through. All right, are there any questions? Let's see. Who's your favorite writer? Probably Ed Brubaker. I also really like Rick Remender, at least for today. I do like a lot of the stuff that Alan Moore has written. Maybe that's cliche to say, but I do like a lot of his stuff. What else stands out as a good writer? I like certain things by Grant Morrison. He's a little hit and miss for me. Some stuff I really, really like a lot, and some of it I feel like I don't quite get. I like a good amount of Warren Ellis. Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan, I'll read pretty much anything by him. I think he's also pretty fantastic. So, yeah, those are some of the writers that I enjoy. Where I'll read almost anything by them. Obviously, I'm just sort of getting lost in spotting some blacks. Not necessarily the most productive use of my drawing time. But it helps me relax a little. Have you ever read Silverblade? Sorry, Graphite Grappler, haven't read that one. Don't know that one. Who wrote and illustrated it? If you had to pick an architect for DCEU, who would it be? It's a good question. Who would be good there? I'm not sure if there's anyone in comics that I would necessarily appoint to that role right now. I think it would be more likely like some sort of a showrunner that's shown an appreciation and respect and a love for comics. I would love to say, hold on, I'm forgetting the writer and showrunner's name that I was about to say. Who was the guy that did Wonderfalls and Pushing Daisies and shows like that? Brian Fuller? I would like to say him, but he just seems to keep backing out of his projects these days. But I feel like he'd have the right sort of mix of like wholesome and dark that could like really work for comics. He's done some really fantastic stuff. I think that's who I'm thinking of. Did Brian Fuller do Hannibal? I feel like he could possibly be a good architect. I don't know. Favorite Arrested Development character? That's from Emmanuel. Probably Job. Probably Job. I always laugh at any... it's hard to say. There's so many great storylines for every single character in that show. I don't think it would work without Lucille. Lucille is more of an anchor to that show than you might think. She's great. Jessica Walters is fantastic on that. But Jason Bateman is also pretty fantastic in it. It's just that sometimes his character can be very self-involved and just as bad as any of the rest of his family members that he thinks he's better than. I love that show. I really do. Oh, thank you, C. Kim. Good stuff, mate. Very, very much appreciated. Thank you. Wow. That's super chat's always appreciated. Thank you. Jojo says, I was thinking Gaiman since he has experience in comics and films, but it might be a gamble. Yeah, I don't know that he's got a ton of experience in like film and stuff. You know, he's had his stuff adapted, but I don't know how much hands-on experience he has in knowing what works for film as compared to a written medium, where you can explore a lot of an inner bit of a character. And film, everything has to be represented visually. Everything has to be seen. That's why I like comics. They can sort of give you both the internal and the external. So I really like that. And it's still visual. When they're done well, I like comics more than any other medium. Actually, even when they're not done well, I still love them. Take a look at your questions in one moment. It's today. Today's Friday, right? Yeah, today's Friday. Okay. Nothing like forgetting which day you're on. Jason Bateman was awful in Teen Wolf 2. No cly why I watched that last week. Probably just because Jason Bateman was in it. See you, Pathetic Spider Boy. Bateman and Hogan Family is awful. Really, C. Kim? That's not a great show at all, but I do like it. You know what? I mostly like the theme song now that I think of it, and Sandy Duncan was really likable in it. I guess it wasn't really about Bateman. But that was when he started to become a bit of a superstar. At least on TV. Anyone seen his show Ozark? I've heard really good things about it, but I haven't caught it yet. I am curious about it. Question 1. What's your favorite color? Blue. No clear. What? I hope you all got that. Somebody asked me what my favorite color was. I think that'll just about do it for this little guy. Just wrap up his tie here. Or at least some of it. Let's just do some of it. I don't feel like drawing the whole thing. And next, after this, I gotta record comic tropes. I think people will like this week's. I hope they do. I hope they do. I think it's interesting and funny, but we'll see. You know, I never really know which ones will 100% click with the audience. I know certain ones probably won't. I'm like, you know, I know I'm only reviewing like a Golden Age comic here or an indie title, so certain people will get a lot out of it, but like maybe not a lot of people, I mean. So, yeah. Probably shouldn't have colored in all of Michael Bluth's hair black. It doesn't quite look right, but what can you do? What's your earliest memory? Probably probably just living in the first house that I grew up in, which, let me think for a second here. I would have been, would have been like 4 or 5 maybe. I don't remember much before then. I just remember certain things about the first house that I grew up in. Not a very exciting memory. I remember almost burning the house down once. I thought that I was old enough to know how to cook. I was the only one awake, and I think I pulled out like some aluminum foil or something, and it got too close to the stove and caught on fire. And I was young enough that I definitely could have just been scared and like gone to another room and forgotten about it. But fortunately, I did run upstairs and wake up my parents. So they were able to stop it before it got, you know, to anything serious. But boy, that could have been bad. So I guess I was a dumb kid. Fortunately, not too dumb. Who are your favorite G.I. Joe characters? Oh, that's a fun one. Thanks, Deanavision. It's weird to call you that. Deanavision. Snake Eyes for sure. Snake Eyes is great. Who else do I really like? I like Destro. I like Cobra Commander. I like Stalker. He's good. He's good. And Storm Shadow. I guess I like the ones with the most mythology behind them now that I think it through. Yeah. I like Spirit. He's good in the comics. I'm basing all of this on the comics, by the way. Because to me, that's actually like, the comics I would say are like more definitive to me than even the toys. I know the toys are the whole point of everything, but for me the comics became the most important thing. So there we go. The prompt word today was chicken, and so I drew Gob Bluth doing his chicken dance to mock his brother Michael, and that's what I came up with. I think that's what I'll do for today. Whew. Excuse me. Wow. Yeah, I'm tired, I guess. When I was a kid, I stuck Fruit Loops up my nose. Maybe we were all dumb kids. Probably, I guess. We're lucky things didn't go worse, right? Yeah, sure, Graphite Grappler. I've heard of the 2019 Joker movie. We'll see how that goes. Cha-cha, cha-cha, cha-cha. Thank you, Emmanuel E. You get it. Have you heard of the Morbius movie starting development? Yeah, I have. And let me just say, let's see how Venom does financially. And if it bombs, Morbius is probably going to just disappear. Morbius could support a movie, and probably so could Venom. But there's a certain way to approach it, and I'm not convinced Sony is trying to be careful and consider like what makes the characters work. I think that they really just see dollar signs and are rushing forward with this stuff. That's the impression I get. But I'm sort of basing that on the fact that, like, you know, when was the last time Sony put out something really good? I'm trying to, like, nothing pops into my head right now. They've had a tough few years. Like, whoa, I can't think of something amazing from Sony right now. Venom is a monster. Spouse representation. LOL, I'm all about it. Didn't quite get that. Morbius could, but I don't know anybody who's a big Morbius fan. That's true. He does not necessarily have a big fan base. At least Venom has a fan base. Morbius is interesting, and he's had his own title, but does he have a big fan base? No, probably not. It's always been pretty short-lived appearances in the comics world because, yeah, whatever. They'll make comic books in between games with either having to do with the plot or subplot. Okay, I don't know what that's about, sorry. Okay, I'm out. Have a good Friday night, y'all. See you, Smirched Hatter. I appreciate that you jumped in here. Venom needs to be rated R. I'm not convinced that's so, actually, see, Kim. I think that Venom is quite a goofball. And he talks about, like, wanting to eat brains and stuff, but he actually is rarely, very rarely, been portrayed as all that violent. At least the Eddie Brock version. I think the only times he's really sort of been more of a bloodlusty, hulking monster that does rip things to pieces was when Mac Gargan was the host for the symbiote, and, you know, he didn't really control it as well. But I don't think that, like, Eddie Brock really ever had any stories that felt like they were R-rated to me. That's just me. All right. So, I think that'll do it for today, folks. Yeah, we still did over an hour, so I'm pretty good with that. I know this isn't a superhero, but it's a little different. It's what I thought of when I thought of the word, what do you call it? Chicken. What's tomorrow's prompt? Let's just figure that out real quick. Let me pull up the prompts here, and it looks like tomorrow's is drooling. Drooling. Well, I already did Venom, so can't use that again. Who's another character that drools, or maybe a character that's like an animal or something like that? Maybe Beast Boy as a dog? I don't know. I do like animals. It might be fun just to draw an animal. Or it might be fun to just sort of draw an animal and then bust out the color green and say, oh, that's Beast Boy, by the way. The dog from Inhumans, that's true. Lockjaw could be an interesting attempt. Yeah, a drooling Wolfman. Wolfman is a great, you know, thing. Chrissy says Morty. I don't think Morty would look right if I drew him in sort of my semi-realistic style. I think it would be hard to identify him as Morty, but maybe. Feral Wolverine, yeah, yep, Wolverine. Hey, I guess I could draw any 90s character because they were all drawn with this expression all the time. And they'd always have like spittle coming out or something. They'd either be yelling or punching. There was always too much spit in the 90s. That was just how everything was drawn. Homer Simpson drooling for food, says Danavision. Thank you, Dan, for joining me. Appreciate it. Toxic Avenger, that's thinking outside the box. I like that. I like thinking outside. Okay, another. See, Kim also likes the idea of Morty. Superman during Thanksgiving. Why? That just makes me think of, like, there's one cover where Superman is eating all these cheeseburgers just like this. He's going, and, like, people are like, we can't bring Superman enough cheeseburgers. That was, like, supposed to make you go, like, I gotta buy that issue. I gotta find out why Superman is eating so many cheeseburgers. Devil Dinosaur? A dinosaur could be. Dinosaurs? That is to say, dinosaurs. Yes. Billy. Sorry, okay, I just fell into a Jeff Goldblum impression. I was having too much fun. Just joined in. What are we naming off? Well, Billy, I am wrapping up today's. I have just finished my drawing for Chicken. It's a guy doing a chicken dance, and I am not a guy, it's Gob Bluth. Tomorrow's prompt is drooling. So everyone was thinking of characters that drool. Yeah. What about Venom T-Rex from Old Man Logan? Yeah, that is cool. It would be fun to illustrate, but since I already did since I already did Venom, I don't necessarily want to repeat myself. Of course, Mr. Yuck says draw some testicles. That's what you say every time. I did it once. That should be more than enough for you. I don't think there's too many artists out there that would engage in that. But I did. You got your testicles. And by the way, you're on the internet. If you need to see more testicles, there's probably more than you could see in a lifetime. Blob is a suggestion by Nathaniel Rhodes. Violator from Sansanity. You guys are very, definitely thinking outside the box with this drooling idea. There are a number of characters that I guess could involve drooling. But I sort of keep coming back to the idea of like a dog or something. A walker from The Walking Dead. Yeah, that could be sort of construed as drooling. I agree with that. Forget Inktober. Next year, Testicletober. Yeah, that could take off. Yeah, actually, there's definitely, now that I'm thinking of it, of course there's an audience for that. It's not exactly the audience that I'm trying to speak to exclusively. A xenomorph, that's a cool idea. The xenomorph does drool a bunch. Oh, John, yeah, oh, haha, yes. I like the idea of xenomorph, especially if I'm drawing it in black and white. I think that character always looks good when it's illustrated in black and white. So let me give that some thought. I also really like Lockjaw. I like the idea of a walker. Some of these might fit with other days, but these are some really good suggestions. Thank you all. That's plenty of ideas for me to go on. Let me just touch up a little here, but I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think I'm going to call it a day because I really do need to record the next episode of my actual show. I know you all want that. Probably more than you want this, which would be fair. That's what I started with. But I always have a good time talking to everybody out there. It's a great time. I love connecting with everybody. Thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, for your support, the super chats. Very, very much appreciated. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. All right. I think that'll do it. I had a good time. See y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. It'll be really late tomorrow. That's just how it is. Keep reading comics.